Hi, everyone. This is Jen from Turquoise Wine Bar here with Pete Stolpman from Stolpman Vineyards. And we're super excited to give you a little behind the scenes of what Pete is producing, learn a little bit more about his vineyard and where it is at, and then really dive deep into some of the wines that we are featuring at Turquoise this month. So, as you know, Turquoise features boutique wines from all over the world. We only bring in the absolute best wines that we can find, which is why we have a ton of wines from Stolpman. Especially coming into, what month is it right now? Coming into September, we've got the Sauvignon Blanc and we've got the La Quadrilla going back on the menu. So would love to hear a little more about those wines. But Pete, first, I'd love to hear just a little bit about you. Tell our guests who you are, where you come from, and what you're doing.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for the amazing partnership. It was so great to have you and your team out to the vineyard back in January, and you really saw the magic. And I'll do my best to show pictures and tell your customers about the magic. But I'm thrilled that everybody at Turquoise loves the Sauv Blanc and Quadrilla. I took over from my family back in 2009, back when I was young, no wrinkles. And before that, I had trained in winemaking in Australia and Italy and worked in distribution, where I met my wife, actually. So I've been in the wine industry full time for 20 years, and yeah, I've devoted my life to it. Going back to the first generation, my dad and mom bought our land back in 1990. My dad had been looking for limestone near the ocean throughout California, found our outcropping, tried to buy it back in 1988, and was finally able to buy it in 1990. There were no vineyards in our little pocket called Ballard Canyon, so he took the shotgun approach. He planted 18 different varietals in the 1990s, including Sauvignon Blanc, Syrah, Sangiovese, Grenache, all the red grapes in Quadrilla. And then really beginning the late 90s through the 2000s, we weaned any varietal that wasn't perfect for our terroir. We ripped out and replanted. Today, we're mainly known for Syrah, so La Quadrilla, and so Syrah dominated red blend. But yeah, we're certified organic, certified biodynamic. We take care of our land, and of course, we take care of our people, which is what La Quadrilla is all about. So yeah, I'm just really fulfilled and blessed to be able to take what my dad and mom started and grow it a little bit and make it sustainably, economically sustainable for my little boys one day to take over. Fingers crossed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. This is quite the eclectic bunch of varietals you have going in over there.
Yeah, yeah, we don't have a lot of mainstream varietals. I'm just starting to share, and I'm going to go right to the top. Just talking about what a beautiful place is. But Dad did try Cabernet Sauvignon in the beginning. He tried Merlot, and it turned out we were too cold for those Bordeaux grapes. And really, Syrah found us and the other Rhone varietals. We have a very healthy Sangiovese seaside project. Today, we have 15 varietals planted. So at one point, we'd really narrowed it in, kind of like an hourglass shape, where we started with 18, narrowed it in to about 10. But then in my career, I've experimented with some really crazy grapes. Trousseau, Sauvignon, we have Gamay, we have a grape called Mondouse from the Savoie. So we have a lot of experiments, and when something really works out, then we plant more of it and make delicious wines for the people.
That's awesome. Yeah. With all of this, tell us what we're looking at with this picture here.
Yeah, so we're looking almost directly south, a little southwest, and that mountain range is running pretty much east-west. And we have that beautiful drawing on our Sauvignon Blanc label. So it's actually pretty much the illustration that we used for our label. But yeah, I love this map right here. So from that photo, we're looking directly south at this ridge line here, and it's such a unique mountain formation. This was not here a few million years ago. Back here is the coastal range behind us. So we are completely unsheltered from the cold Arctic flow of Pacific Ocean coming down the coast of Washington, Oregon, and it hits this much warmer body of water down here. So it's trapped here. And the cool commonality between us and Arizona is it's getting sucked right through this chute, through Palmdale, Lancaster, out to the Mojave. So the mountain range all the way back here, those are the Sierra Nevadas. They terminate directly east of us. So we don't have shelter from the desert. So as y'all heat up during the day, it creates a big vacuum of hot air rising, and then our cold Arctic air jams through right through our vineyard, back through those east-west chutes, and fills the void. So we operate in a constant wind tunnel, which cools down the vineyard. Being this far south is very unique. We're 350 miles south of Napa Valley. From y'all, you're driving directly west the whole time, right through the top of LA, until you run into Santa Barbara County wine country. So we have a compact winter, we have intense sunshine, but because we're so well moderated by the Pacific Ocean, we have this beautiful even ripening where we can harvest really late. Here we are, early September. We aren't picking anything for another couple days. Everybody in Paso Robles, Monterey, Napa, they're already well into harvest, but we're much cooler than those areas.
Cooler for sure.
Yeah.
So, we were out there in January, so obviously nothing on the vines at that point. But right now, you're just getting into harvest, so you're just getting ready to be busy. What's coming first? What's ready to
Voila. Perfect segue. Thursday night for Friday processing, we are picking Sauvignon Blanc. And we always try to nail the pick. We had actually scheduled the pick for tonight. And then the beauty of having a full-time vineyard crew, we were out tasting the fruit. We had a nice little heat wave over Labor Day weekend. And we're like, you know what? Let's delay it 48 hours. So it's really amazing to have a full-time vineyard crew where we can be really nimble and not rely on labor contractors. We have to schedule based on their availability. But I think we're going to nail the first pick. And because this is a Santa Barbara County wine, we have a lot of leeway, right? We pick a couple vineyards out here in Happy Canyon, then move over to this state, and then up here in Foxton Canyon, and then over to this little chute right here in Los Alamos.
Mhm.
So we're always trying to nail the picks perfectly. But if it turns out that we're a little too aggressive and maybe pick this first pick a little early, then we can adapt and pick our later picks a little bit riper. And the wine has so much amazing texture because of that, because we have that mix of high acid and then riper tropical fruit oriented picks. Blending it all together just creates a beautiful wine. And the other really cool thing, all these vineyards are super low yielding. There's not many grape clusters on each vine. So don't get me wrong, the Sauvignon Blanc is refreshing and light bodied. Everything we want out of Sauvignon Blanc, but there's a hint more ripeness and there's a little more texture. There are more tactile layers to it. It fills and coats the mouth just a little more than what you'd find in a more commercial Sauvignon Blanc. A big difference between what we do as a family operation and what the big companies do. They have to hit their spreadsheets, right? They have to hit their profit margin, and there too, they crop their vines much higher, overworking them. And when you hang that much fruit on every vine, you get a much thinner profile. It's much more difficult for the vine to put its energy into each grape when you have so many on the vine. And so you get a thinner, less ripe profile in Sauvignon Blanc. And a lot of people don't like that. My favorite thing about this wine And so when I hear, I don't usually like Sauvignon Blanc, but I love this. I'm like, you got it. And I'm still very happy when I hear, well, I love Sauvignon Blanc and this is amazing. But, I think really to change people's minds, because a lot of people get turned off when they try the cheaper stuff out of Marlborough, New Zealand, and even up, in the Central Valley and Lodi. Here in California, people crop the Sauvignon Blanc, in my opinion, way too high.
Yeah, it can be such a polarizing wine, that like tart bite in the back of your jaw. Like sometimes it can be so difficult. This one, I'm so excited. I know I've had it, but I'm so excited to revisit it. I'm really regretting not having a glass right now for this call. Mistakes. But that sounds phenomenal. So we've got that in our shop starting again this week. We always have it by the bottle, but we've got it by the glass for the next few months at our shop. But our big one that is our customer favorite is the La Quadrilla. So this is your red blend. And this wine is so spectacular. I cannot do it justice talking about it. So I'd really love for you to tell our guests a little bit about La Quadrilla, what it is, and the story behind it, because it is such a cool wine with such a great story.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate that my dad and Ruben began this program at our outset back in the 90s. Dad, his quote was, if his dream of buying land and starting a vineyard was to come true, he wanted that to positively affect everybody involved. And he'd done a ton of research in the 70s and 80s, and he was disappointed that almost every winery, when you drilled down and asked the tough questions, the vineyard manager or the winemaker would tell him that they relied on migrant labor for pruning in February and then for harvest in September or October. And my dad didn't want anything to do with that. He wanted to be able to sleep at night knowing that the folks that worked for him lived locally, that they and their family had stability, and that their kids could go to school, stay in the same school, and there to have opportunity. And he told Ruben, our vineyard manager, and Ruben's the godfather of my kids, do you think we can keep a full-time crew? And Ruben laughed at my dad. Our property is 218 acres total. And the plan was to plant 152 acres in the 1990s alone. And Ruben just said, we have so much work to do. I will have no problem employing a year-round crew. And that's what he did. And we planted 152 acres, 18 different varietals. And by the end of the 90s, Ruben sensed that this amazing family he had built, at the time our crew consisted of 15 people, they'd gotten comfortable, which is a good thing, but they weren't searching for innovation and improvement. And Ruben told them, you know what? If I started as a field hand and worked my way up to vineyard manager, everybody here can do the same thing. I'm going to give you a quadra, a block of the vineyard, and I'm not going to tell you what to do. No work orders. You are now the farmer in your own block that you own. You're not the worker, you're the farmer, and you need to engage with why I'm pruning differently, shoot thinning, shading, how I'm leafing, fruit adjustments, every variable through the year. You need to apply what you think will be best for your block. And all of a sudden, the crew became so much more engaged. And when Ruben told my dad about it, my dad loved it, because at the time, none of our crew members drank wine. Everybody at that point was from Jalisco. And of course, they drank beer and tequila. And my dad just felt that was a bit hollow, that these are the people touching our vines by hand. We never touch our vines with our tractor, with our mechanization. We can till the ground, we can pull a trailer. But when it comes to actually touching our vines, everything's done by human hands. And when my dad found out about the quadra, the training block, he said, well, let's isolate that wine and we'll make it for the crew to drink. And if they already take pride in their block that they own every year, how much pride will they take in their own wine? And the very first year, I think it was 2002 2002, 2003. We didn't put a back label on it. It was just for the crew to drink. And they got a lot of wine. And I don't think anybody had a place to put it. So they started throwing parties to come drink our wine. And everybody loved it. Restaurant workers and sommeliers started hearing about it and wanting to support the crew. Our wine club members started hearing about it and wanting to support. So the very next vintage, we put a real label on it, a legal label, and we still gave a portion back to the crew for them to enjoy, but then we sold the rest and gave them back the money. So that's, the wine actually was quite small, just from one training block, a few hundred cases, through the '08 vintage. And as I mentioned, I took over in 2009. If anybody old enough to remember what was happening in 2009, it's a really difficult, really economic crisis. And our bank had opted not to renew all of our operating credit lines. We ended up being in default for about 16 months. Ruben offered me a loan at one point because he knew I was stressing over every payroll. We finally got a new bank before the harvest of 2010, and I went down to Jalisco to meet Ruben and his wife Lupe's families and meet the extended families of all of our crew. And it was party after party leading up to Christmas. And I just had this aha moment. I like to say I had a moment of clarity in the tequila fog, where people are sending money back home, but then to meet everybody's families and just feel the pride that everybody had in their relative who had a great job. They knew all about me and Jessica and my dad, and we just, I pulled Ruben aside and said, we need to make this bigger. Now that we have a credit line again, let's go back and reblend the 2009 harvest and make La Quadrilla at least 10% of our production, and all the profit margin will go back to the crew. So that's what we did. When Carrie, my creative director, found out about it, she had a bit of a crisis. She's like, wait, we're not going to hand sell every bottle of Quadrilla at our tasting room. You're talking about, making enough to distribute. I'm like, yeah, I want to tell this story of taking care of both our land and our people. She says, well, in order to keep the engagement, I want to change the label every year as a reminder of what this wine is all about, taking care of our people, giving them profit sharing. So we set out to change the label every vintage. The first one was just the picking shears, our most important tool. This one is called Courage and Pride, the lion for courage, the peacock feathers for pride. We even hit a little soccer ball down here that no one ever noticed. It's right at the bottom of the label. That's actually my dad dressed up as a mariachi. The agave knife, we happen to have this old agave knife that I don't know what we used it for, but it was always around. And it was just this cool beat up somebody's grandfather's agave knife. Actually, my assistant winemaker got that tattooed. Ruben said, okay, if we're getting tattoos, I'll get the next label tattooed. So this was supposed to be Ruben's tattoo, the Aztec hawk. He never got it. Went to the maize, the corn, and then via Photoshop, we covered Ruben in tattoos for that label. That's actually my favorite label. That was only the second label that we exported to Arizona, and that label actually did really well in Arizona. It's cool to see. But yeah, Ruben really doesn't have any tattoos, but yeah, La Quadrilla, they're all really uplifting right in his chest. It's si se puede, yes you can, and yeah, it's that we still actually make this wine only in Magnum though, because wines in big bottles last even longer, and we want Ruben's Photoshop tattoos to last his whole life. So we have a lot of fun with it. Again, we have a great crew. Last vintage was the Mother Vine. We have this crazy project. That entire bush right there is one interconnected vine that we train under the ground and back up every winter. So we're up to 1,350 interconnected heads. We can never have that Mother Vine project without a full-time crew to train it and take care of it lovingly. And then we have the new label that y'all have in Arizona. This is titled La Quadrilla Saves the World with Their Grapevine. So we're galloping through the dark night. Instead of a lasso, we're holding a grapevine high. Instead of a pistol, we have a wine bottle. and the bright stars of hope are shining. So we can't control all the chaos going on in the country and the world. All we can do is double down, take care of our people, and make really unique, compelling wine, and hopefully we're going to be okay. So it's to me a beautiful message. Right now, this wine accounts for a $3.25 bonus on every hour worked. We're up to 37 employees, and then we divide the bonus, the actual profit sharing at the end of the year, and we give out the bonuses divided by seniority. So it's a great party at the end of harvest. The holidays are coming. We have this amazing band up playing, and I get to stand up in front of the whole team, and starting with the most senior, going down to the rookies, hand out the bonus checks. And again, the entire profit margin of La Quadrilla goes back to our 37 workers and their families. So we have the best vineyard crew, not only in California, but I think in the world. I worked in Australia. I worked in Italy. In Australia, there's no labor. Everything's mechanized. You really don't have control. And then in Italy, everything was done with a migrant crew from Morocco. And they actually, Ramadan fell right in the middle of Sangiovese harvest. So they were fasting from dawn till dusk. Yeah, I was just like, oh my God, like I miss my Jaliscan crew. So it's an amazing group. I grew up being a kid playing with the children of La Quadrilla. Those kids are now the head nurse of our mobile health clinic, my electrician, on and on. My dad's dream of giving these hardworking people a job, and then their children would have opportunity actually worked. And my generation now, they're all professionals, and it's so fun for me to watch my children playing with the current kids of the crew, and just wondering what all these kids are going to grow up and do. So it's all because their parents have this great career and are paid fairly.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love that. We love supporting winemakers that are just doing great things within this industry, right? There are so many people doing things right. There are so many people not necessarily doing as much as they could. So we love highlighting those stories. That is so great. I do remember when we had the vintage changeover from the old bottle to the new bottle. So for a day, we had the two side by side, and we were able to do some fun comparisons. And we had a couple of regular customers in there, and I very vividly remember this conversation with one of our customers named David, and he was like, "Ooh, I love this one," and I was like, "Okay, let's go side by side." And he was just like, "Well, damn, I actually think it's better," and I didn't know that was possible. So, you had a very tough critic with that one, and definitely nailed it. So, it has been fun to watch that story evolve. And now we'll even be able to tell it with more detail for our guests as they try these wines.
Well, and I hope David and any of your other regulars make it out. You'll let me know if anybody's on their way out to our tasting room, and we'll take great care and comp the tastings and make sure we pour the really good stuff.
Awesome.
Hopefully everybody's enjoying it there. But if you're coming to Santa Barbara wine country, it is a beautiful, laid back place, and we'd love to host you in our tasting room in beautiful Los Olivos.
That is spectacular. Okay, so you guys heard it. If you're in our wine club, Stolpman is our newest winery partner. Pete is going to hook you up. So just plan your trip to Santa Barbara. Make sure you have a little time to drive up to Los Olivos, and we'll get you set up with some really great Stolpman wines on the vineyard.
You
Cool.
got it.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. We'll have to do this again next time we bring the next round of Stoltman wines in and tell all the people about it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the partnership. And yeah, we'll keep making great wine if y'all keep drinking it.
Deal. That is an easy deal. All
All
right.
right.
Thanks so much, Pete. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.